I'm Douglas Estes, Associate Professor of Religion at New College of Florida.
And I'm Alicia Mercado-Harvey, Assistant Professor of Spanish, Portuguese, and History at New College.
I am Romina Uranga, Professor of Biochemistry at New College of Florida.
Welcome to Mighty Banyans on the Bay, the faculty podcast of New College of Florida.
Hello, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. We told you guys that we were going to have a really good guest today to talk about science and medical science, right? So Romina joined us last year, right?
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
So where did you come from, Romina?
So, I am originally from Argentina, and I am in the U.S. I've been in the U.S. since 2021. I did a great postdoctoral stay in University of Michigan. And then I was hired here and I came to teach some science and some biochemistry.
Great.
And you're the professor of biochemistry. So tell us a little bit.
The only one.
Oh,
yes.
The only one. Okay.
Yes.
So tell us just in general, biochemistry. What is the field? What does it look like?
Oh,
what
it's
classes
amazing.
do you take?
So we are not biologists and we are not chemists. We are in the interface. So we study the chemistry that supports life. Everything that is at the molecular level supporting life. So.
Okay, good. What are some sample classes that a undergraduate student may take in biochemistry?
So we start, it is a 2-course sequence with Biochem 1 and Biochem 2 because it is a very large discipline. So we start in Biochemistry 1 with introduction of a little bit of cell biology, and then we jump into proteins and protein function and structure, and then we go to a big core of biochemistry, which is enzymes and how they work and how they are regulated. And then we jump into bioenergetics, so how our cell uses energy or stores energy. So that is like the whole package for Biochemistry 1. And then in Biochemistry 2, we study synthesis and breakdown of all the macromolecules in the cell and a little bit of cellular signaling. So it's a lot about how the cell communicates with the environment and how that information is integrated inside the cell.
Fascinating. So you recently had a major paper come out, and I know that we want to spend a little time talking about that. I'll introduce it by saying that it has to do with the retention of fat in male mice, but it's a lot more complicated than that. So tell us a little bit.
Well, for me, it was a very exciting story. It is about fat. It is about adipose tissue. And for those that don't know, adipose tissue is a tissue in our body that stores energy, but it does a lot of other things. So it has to do with inflammation. It has to do with some signaling to your brain. It was thought originally to only store energy, but it is much more. People usually want to get rid of adipose tissue because it is our fat. And that is not a good thing because it plays very important and healthy roles. So that paper was about studying a signaling pathway. And when I say signaling, it is about the communication that cells keep between them. So there is a very conserved signaling pathway, which is called Wind. And what happens there is that we wanted to know the role of that signaling pathway in the adipocytes. So what we did is to knock out that signaling pathway. We knocked out a key gene there. It means like the signaling pathway is not there anymore. But what happened was we wanted to do that only in the adipocyte, which is the cell that stores fat in the adipose tissue. And the adipose tissue has that adipocyte, but also some other cells that are supporting cells, like immune cells, vascular cells. So you have a community of cells there. And the adipocytes are the stars in adipose tissue. So what happened is that when we caused the deficiency in that gene, which is very important for this signaling pathway, there was a general sensing in the whole adipose tissue, and we found out that the neighboring cells were trying to compensate. So they were trying to provide back that protein that was deficient in the adipocyte, and they were trying to compensate by that. And that is a very cool mechanism that was not known. I think, honestly, I think it works in every tissue in our body, but sometimes it's difficult to reveal it because of the masking effects. So sometimes it's difficult to see what happens when the pathway is not there just because of the neighboring cells compensating. So it was a very cool work for me. It took me a lot of time because of the masking effect, but the techniques that we use for that really, they are really important. They made me grow so much as a scientist.
And this is the kind of study that would inform and be really important to medical science, right?
Yeah. So I want to be always clear with the audience. And when you do basic science, we generate knowledge. So we need to be careful about saying, oh, I am going to cure this disease or I am going to do that. So we generate knowledge. And that knowledge then is taken by applied science, and then that gives you the possibility to develop therapeutics or, I don't know, drugs or protocols, different things. So the cool thing here was that we generated a bunch of knowledge. And to be honest, there are many unanswered questions. So in science, you have 10 questions, probably you answer those questions, and then you have 20 more when you finish the paper. So the story will continue, hopefully, here in your college.
Right. And I also wanted to tell our audience that this is a big deal for Romina and for New College, because generally you do collaborative work, right? And single author is a rare thing, and you're a single author of this paper. So can you explain what the importance of that is?
I am not really the single author. I am the first author of the paper. Okay. And it's very weird to be single author in science because we don't do science by alone. Yourself. Exactly. So you always need some piece of equipment. You always need to brainstorm with someone else. You need to, I don't know, to use the expertise of some other lab. And that is when you really grow as a scientist, right. When you see someone else's approach, point of view. Right. Usually scientists that do everything by themselves, right. I wouldn't
first author then. First author, that's the importance of the relevance for you and your research for the college. It's important to have someone in science who has first author. And so congratulations on that.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
So I got to ask, you apparently only studied male mice.
So that was a cool thing also. So the NIH encourages us to include both sexes when you do animal work. And actually we did. We included females and male cohorts. However, we only saw the effect on males.
Wow.
So we studied all the transcriptomics, which means like all the information that came from the genome and the to say it in easy words, like the signalings of turning on and off different things in the cell. We studied that in both genders, but only males had this effect. Females didn't show anything. So apparently, my guess is that sexual hormones are doing something there in the microenvironment of the adipose tissue. So that's another question that we have. What is, I don't know, estrogen generating? What is testosterone doing? So I have lots of questions now.
Right.
Yeah. Do you plan to look at females more specifically or now?
So I do, but I have many more questions that are kind of following what happened in the male mice, because male studies correlate better with what happens in vitro when you isolate the adipocyte and you study there what happens at the molecular level. So that is more, yes, you see that more in males than in females. So I would follow that line of research like in my following steps, and probably in the longer term study what happens with females and why they are so resistant to show any phenotype.
Yeah.
Right.
So the fact that New College is a undergraduate liberal arts college, what opportunities do students have to work with some of these projects with you?
All. So if they do know some biochemistry, great. If they do know some physiology, great. But if they don't, what you usually do, and I always tell my students, like, labs are absolutely necessary. But even if you go to a lab and you know many techniques, what will happen is that you will need to do the techniques the way they are done in the lab that you are starting your work on. So even if they don't know the techniques, I am here to help them. I am here to teach them. So my goal is to have them do the techniques the way I do them so I can trust the results, and then the community can trust the results of the published paper that comes from that.
Right.
Because we need to be very careful with that.
Yeah.
So science is done with some rules, and the professors are the ones who need to take care of the students doing things the way they should be doing.
Right.
Right. And
So no problem.
this is precious, right, for students that want to do like
Yeah.
pre-med, or they want to take courses that would go into medical school. The kind of courses and lab work that you do would be really crucial,
Yeah,
right?
if they like the molecular level of science, yes, I think it is super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we can collaborate with many other labs from different institutions. Let's say if we don't have animals, we can collaborate with a lab that has animals, and we can develop the project. So science is for that, for establishing a networking and coming to work all together, not in an isolated way.
Right. And the opportunity for the students as well, because in a lot of bigger institutions, you have the situation where you have assistants that will help you in the lab, but you'll never see the professor in the lab with the students necessarily. And that's an opportunity that you have here at New College. So to take advantage.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's something that really captivated me when I had the opportunity to come to New College. So I used to teach biochemistry for 100 students, 150, 200. And when I saw the possibility of teaching to, 10, 15, 20 students, for me that was science fiction, because you can't believe that really happens. And that really happens. So right now I have 15 students, and you can really track everyone's progress. You can know where they have any issue, what they don't understand. You can even predict what they will not understand. So for me, that's an awesome experience.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is one of the things that we really do best at New College. So it's
Right.
just great to hear this, that it's happening as well in the sciences.
Right. So of all the classes you teach, is there one that you have as a favorite, or if you don't want to have favorites, is there a class that you're going to teach maybe that you really are excited about teaching?
Well, I am a little bit nerdy, so I like everything related to science. But last year I started teaching nutrition, and I developed like a general nutrition course and also a course for sports and exercise. And I had a lot of athletes there, and it was challenging because they didn't have a good biochemistry background or any biology background at all. It was challenging, but for me it was so rewarding, because you need to find a way to teach to everyone. And it is on you as a professor how you manage that. For me, it was a super exciting experience. And after that, teaching nutrition became like my fave. Like, even if I cannot go to molecular, then I am able to teach that at a general level. And for me, that's awesome.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Besides fat male mice,
Yes.
is there any other research you have on the horizon right now?
Well, so I am open to different projects with my students. So 15 years of my career were more on the neurodegeneration area. So all my research was about basic science related to Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. Again, not with patients, but with models, like the biochemistry that is there hidden inside the cells, inside the brain. And after that, I decided to change to metabolism because I was able to see how, obesity or metabolic dysfunction had an impact on your brain. So that's how I switched from neurodegeneration to metabolism. So I am open to projects related to neurodegeneration, everything related to neurosciences. I really enjoy it. Everything related to metabolism. So it can be adipose tissue, it can be muscle physiology, it can be general metabolism, liver. So I don't know, when you really like biochemistry and my approach is from the medical sciences, then I really like to integrate it all. So I find that everything is super interesting. It depends on what's the question and how we can answer that, right?
Now that you mentioned Alzheimer's, we had this conversation at the last podcast, right? That you brought up Alzheimer's, and it actually there is, this case of someone falsifying, right? It was for autism and also for Alzheimer's, falsifying data.
That's a big thing in science.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think about things like this?
So, it is related to this publish or perish thing that we have in science, and I understand why it happens. I think scientists are under much pressure with you need to publish, and you need to publish with protagonist role as last author if you are the PI of the lab, or first author if you are a student. So I understand why it happens. However, it shouldn't happen.
Right.
So if you can't cope with that pressure, then you need to step aside, maybe choose a different institution. Maybe you need to choose a different job because you are not for that job.
Ethic classes, right?
Exactly. And it usually happens, or I don't know, like when you study all the cases, it has happened in big institutions and with very successful people, very successful scientists. So as a PI, as the professor in the lab, you need to be there. You need to check everything that every student does, because you never know. Sometimes it could be either, I don't know, maybe unintentional. Like they think that, these 2 points are not what I expected. So it doesn't matter. I have 100 other points, so I will remove them. So from the very beginning, you need to tell them why they shouldn't. And there are statistical tests to know whether you should remove those points or not. So it shouldn't happen, but it is happening very often.
Right. Fortunately, here at New College, there's no that kind of a pressure.
Exactly.
Right? So that's another beauty of this.
Well, and I think also that we're not so large that you can sort of hide or, not be forthcoming. You have so many people that it gets mixed up in it. Whereas here, everything's pretty transparent, it seems like to me.
Exactly. So you are in a one-on-one with your students all the time. So, yeah. it can happen. So we need to be aware of that. But with these small classes, then it is less probable.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere.
Of
but
course.
There are some
Yeah.
advantages, again, of being at a small liberal arts college.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, we've had a really good conversation. So, thank you so much for coming,
Thank
Romina.
you for inviting me.
Of course. And for the rest of you who are watching us at home or wherever you are, please send us comments, questions, anything that comes to mind. We'll be happy to interact with you through our YouTube channel.